Nice to meet you.
Yeah, just thank me too. It's like this is our responsibility. Thank you for being here and everyone else that came out to weigh in on the subject, because that's what full participatory democracy is about, and I'm honored to be here.
Why is this issue so important to you to go on the tour?
Well, I think it's a critical issue. We have our neighboring states like New York and New Jersey both considering it. Some other states have taken this step across the country. So I think it's important that in Pennsylvania we have a conversation face-to-face about this really critical issue.
And then, did you have anything?
What's been the feedback so far?
Well, it's all been civil and thoughtful. Whether you're pro or con, it's been really good on both sides. Every room, we've not yet had a room that wasn't pro by some varying degree, into the 90s versus almost an even split. So every room is different in its own ways, but it's all uniformly civil and all uniformly thoughtful, I would say. Already I've been here a short period of time and people have already thanked me for coming, and I mean that's such a lovely thing, and I appreciate the sentiment, but this is my responsibility as an elected official, is to come and engage and listen to what you think. You have a choice. This is a busy Saturday for people. You could be taking care of the house, you could be watching Netflix, you could be spending time with your family, but you came here to give your opinion and weigh in on a critical issue facing Pennsylvania. So I'm the one that thanks you. Thank you for coming in. There are con and there are middle in the road. And you are, I think, our 13th county and stop. And let me just tell you, they've all been civil. They've all been participatory. And people have respected each other's sides. And I think that's a good thing for this country, given how divided we are sometimes, to be in the same room with people that may or may not agree with them. But at the end of this session, we do a roll call. We do all those in favor, aye, you raise your hand. All those no, and middle of the road. So everybody knows where Schuylkill County was this day. And this is all going to be part of the report that we're going to deliver to Governor Wolf that will be available to each and every one of you as members of the Commonwealth, so people can see that this was a transparent process that was fully participatory, and there was no guided discovery or the room was stacked in one favor or the other. Come one, come all. And towards those ends, I ask that you each form 2 lines and keep your comments, please, limited to 90 seconds to about 2 minutes. And I may interject myself sparingly to say, so pro or con, but please state your opinion, very distinctly, so the camera and the audience knows this is exactly where I feel. So without any further ado.
And I'm the Executive Director of the Schuylkill United Way. The mission and vision statement is as follows. The Schuylkill United Way is dedicated to providing funding, guidance, and encouragement to our 16 partner agencies who help people throughout Schuylkill County by way of a variety of programs and services. Our board members and officers comprise Schuylkill County business and community leaders who seek to assist our neighbors through empowering our partner agencies with a particular emphasis on health and education. I am here today on their behalf to make the following statement, and our hope is that this is the message being taken seriously when presented to Governor Wolf and the General Assembly. The Schuylkill United Way believes healthy living is a building block to a better life. While recreational use of marijuana is legal in some states, we don't know enough about the addictive properties and adverse effects associated with recreational use. We believe legalization of recreational marijuana would be counterproductive to the mission and goals of the Schuylkill United Way, its partner agencies, and those that are served by our organization. Has recreational marijuana use led to anyone's ability to gain and sustain meaningful employment, be a better mother or father, or be a better contributor to the wider community? We believe these are questions that need to be considered and not brushed over by the excitement of initial economic benefits and easements of certain law enforcement efforts. The impact of recreational marijuana on the mental and physical health of our fellow Pennsylvanians needs to be at the forefront of this decision, and as such must not be undertaken without adequate evaluation. Thank you.
Southern Schuylkill County. I don't have any prepared remarks other than the fact that I respect the United Way for what they have just said. On the other hand, addictive abilities are also known to be in situations for alcohol, for smoking, for gambling, and that does not preclude the idea that addictive behaviors cannot be controlled and regulated. I believe very strongly in the idea. I am pro-legalization of cannabis. I believe, though, in a very restrictive environment for it. If the Commonwealth is looking sincerely at having legalization, the more restrictive, the better. You can always lessen the restrictions as more data is known. However, I believe that the revenue that this situation based on tax revenue could be generated from would far outweigh any other opportunities that a negative would present. Thank you very much.
Lieutenant Governor Fetterman. My name is Melissa Callion. I'm the administrator of the Schuylkill County Drug and Alcohol Program. Lieutenant, you have said that we should go full on Colorado in fully legalizing marijuana here in Pennsylvania. At your February 11th listening session, an individual by the name of Kevin Evans, a Hershey-based consultant working in the marijuana industry, shared what he called the good, the bad, and the ugly of what Colorado has experienced since legalization. To quote him, the bad in Colorado was increased marijuana use by juveniles as adult recreational was legalized. The ugly, he added, was that there were cases of marijuana addiction. Colorado holds top ranking for its first-time marijuana use among youth in the country, 65% increase since legalization. Calls to the Rocky Mountain Poison and Drug Center have risen 210% since legalization. Marijuana, food, and candy are being marketed to children and is responsible for a number of growing marijuana-related ER visits. Edibles with the names inspired by favorite candies of children and dessert products such as Ring Pops and Pop-Tarts are now being marketed and sold as Ring Pots and Pop-Tarts. 1 in 6 users who start using marijuana as an adolescent become addicted. Marijuana use by adolescents and young adults is strongly associated with developing psychotic symptoms and disorders such as schizophrenia. Heavy marijuana use in the teen years that continues through adulthood, it has shown a permanent drop in IQ of 8 points. Not only does marijuana lead to the use of harder, more dangerous substances, but it can also lead to the development of mental illnesses like depression. Anxiety and Depression Association of America reports that nearly 20% of Americans with depression also suffer from a co-occurring substance use disorder. The idea that marijuana can lead to the use of harder substances is particularly terrifying because in 2017, marijuana use increased for adolescents from grades 8 to 12.
Okay, about 15 seconds left.
I'm sorry. With the U.S. already fighting a devastating opioid epidemic, while legalizing recreational marijuana rapidly, an increase in adolescent marijuana use breeds a question: are we potentially creating an entire generation of people with substance use disorder?
So are you hard pro, con, or middle of the road?
I'm con. I'm
Con,
sorry.
okay, I just wanted
I'm
to
the
make sure.
director of the Drug and Alcohol Program, and it seems a little reckless to me to legalize marijuana when we're in an opioid crisis at this time.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Sir?
Where is it? Is this on? My name is Rick Mummery. I'm from Shenandoah, Pennsylvania, and I'm all for the legalization of recreational marijuana.
Sir, would you repeat that there so that we can...
I'm all for the legalization.
You're pro.
I'm totally pro. It's a long time coming. want it, we're gonna go over there. So we might just as well put the tax dollars in Pennsylvania, and it should be the lady from the drug and alcohol. She says about children, it's a parent's responsibility to keep the cannabis out of the children's hands. They're all adults, and and I want the state to fully regulate it so it ain't left up to the counties. One for all. Thank you.
Wilson, I'm a clinical professional counselor in the county. I also work with Melissa County for drug and alcohol, and I'm also the treatment coordinator on drug court here in Schuylkill County, and I am adamantly against.
So you're against?
Against.
Okay.
In all my years of working with individuals suffering from all kinds of crises, in particular substance use disorder crises, in all the assessments I've made, and I've done speaking one-on-one with individuals in the jail, individuals in treatment, it always initiated with one of two things, alcohol and marijuana. And I understand that people may think, it's the responsibility of the parent, but we all know that kids can get a hold of things whenever they want to. It is my decision to be opposed of this because I understand the repercussions of it long term. As well as the fact is, I wonder if when you come back, I hope you would come back if this is legalized, to help lobby for monies for treatment, for law enforcement, for the services that help the adolescents and the young children. What about the babies? We already know what we deal with fetal alcohol syndrome. What's this going to do if this is legalized to those that are carrying unborn children and are smoking? This is a long-term issue that we can't even foresee what it would be like until it happens. So I absolutely am opposed. Thanks.
I'm a longtime public defender, and I was neutral on the subject until, as the proposal was made, like a good citizen, I started looking up what the research was. So I have a number of selected studies here that I just picked out at random. What was most important was that every scientifically valid study shows that marijuana is bad. There are very, very few limited uses where it does some good. I'm just going to try to get these all in 90 seconds. The first thing that everyone should be aware of, this is a Florida study done in 2011 of 9,421 adolescents from the period of time from 1995 to 2008. What it showed was the greatest predictor of intimate violence was marijuana use. Consistent marijuana use was related to an increased risk of intimate partner violence. Adolescent marijuana use, particularly consistent use through adolescence, is associated with perpetration or both perpetration of and victimization of intimate partner violence in early adulthood. This is commonly known among psychiatrists. It is not commonly known in the general public. Women's substance abuse and women that use it and women that are...
You have the floor?
Okay, my name's Kathy. I strongly oppose.
You're strongly
Opposed.
opposed.
I'm just a concerned citizen. I'm just going to start here. Addiction has run rampant in Schuylkill County. I also have a long family history of addiction, although I've been fortunate enough not to have to deal with that personally. Over the years, some efforts have been made to address addiction problems, including eliminating advertising that attracts children, such as Joe the Camel. Money for programs to educate children of the dangers of drugs and alcohol has been, we've spent a lot of money, like for the DARE program, things like that. We have organizations formed such as Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous. It's been known for decades that marijuana is a gateway drug. That is no secret. Cigarette use has decreased, but vaping has increased, even among the children, they're saying.
Doctor put me on fentanyl and Percocet. Doing that for 6 years. Went to a medical marijuana doctor. He said I was taking enough to kill a 300-pound man every hour. I still needed more. He prescribed me marijuana in 2018. Stopped taking my pills. I haven't looked back. I have kids. My marijuana went in my safe. My kids didn't touch my marijuana. I was responsible. I think that's everyone else here feels the same. And I want to close out by saying the laws against marijuana is the only harmful thing against it.
Hi, my name is John Ronsky, and I am currently a medical marijuana patient. My mother passed away in 2005 due to alcohol and opiate use. My uncle, her brother, passed a few years later the same way. My mother was prescribed opiates for degenerative disc disease in her back. I've lost many friends to pharmaceuticals when they were seeking help or comfort, and I believe if this plan were available to them, they would still be here today to advocate next to me for legalization. This plan doesn't only save lives, it provides a better quality of living in general. I am proof of this. Access to this magnificent plan has done extraordinary companies from sponsoring and participating in the Pottsville Cannabis Festival. Shows how much the state loves its patients too. I'd also like to ask Jerry Knowles to reconsider his stance on marijuana laws. This movement is not about big money, it's about the people. I fully support House Bill 50. Everyone deserves full access to cannabis. Home grow is a must, and we won't settle for less in the end. Legalization isn't a matter of if anymore, it's a matter of when. And why not now? The benefits would be tremendous. Job opportunities, economic growth, and a better quality of health and life for responsible adults who enjoy it. We need these benefits and opportunities in our communities, especially this one. The negatives I've seen presented against legalization are outdated, misinformed, or just plain wrong. We shall see what states prosper. Gotcha.
My name is Guy. I'm definitely 100% pro-legalization. I've been a smoker for quite a long time. See, I was a breastfed baby, and we all know that milk is the gateway drug to all hard drugs. If that sounds absurd, it's just as absurd as claiming marijuana is the gateway to opioids. You may hear that repeated numerous times here today, but there's simply no statistical evidence to bear that out. There's no truth to it. Now, we all know where we stand on legalization, and I'm not going to try and make the case one way or the other for pot legalization. Those of us who are for it, we're at a time right now where we're closer to winning this battle than ever. This discussion is happening here right now. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for facilitating that. But there's a long fight ahead of us in the legislature, and that's what I think we should be concentrating on right now, is what we have to do is to get this moving farther to the next step. We have 3 representatives here in the state. I don't know if anyone here tonight, but we have 3 in the state, and we all need to outreach to them, lobby them, phone calls, letter writing, maybe organizing visits to their offices to push this idea forward. House Bill 50 is a great piece of legislation. It's right now hung up in the Health Committee. We need to focus on those members of that committee to get it moving out of there. And those committees, you know, are where good ideas go to die. And we can't let that happen here. We've got to put political pressure on the members of that committee to move this bill forward and to make this happen. I'm not here to debate the pros and cons of marijuana. I know where I stand, and I know where I think most people here stand. But now what do we do? What do we do about it? How do we make this happen? How do we get HB 50 moving forward? I've got a Facebook page that I just set up called Schuylkill 420 Legalizing, for all folks who want to get together and make that happen. And we're talking about just about the same as any political campaign: door knocking, letter writing, getting that word out. It starts here, and I'd like to see everybody get on board and join that and make that happen. Let's put pressure on these politicians to move that forward. Let's put pressure on this committee to get it out of committee and into a floor vote. That's the first thing.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And a reason to buy a house in this county. I'm for legalization and the change it could bring. It has ruined lives by not being available to many lives. The DUI laws, as well as sobriety tests rules, need to be looked at. DUI with marijuana are charged the same as alcohol. Whole lives are ruined because an officer can determine someone failed a standard sobriety test and take them for blood work. A standard sobriety test for alcohol is easy to determine, but for marijuana, especially if it wasn't consumed prior to operating a vehicle, should not be the same and is based on an officer's opinion as how they were trained to determine if someone is impaired, or profiling a person based on their ethnicity should not be allowed. Once blood work is ordered, any amount is considered a DUI here in Pennsylvania, meaning any medical marijuana patient, such as myself, can take the medicine at night and have to go somewhere and not take any medicine in the morning, be pulled over for a simple traffic violation, become nervous or anxious, and an officer can administer a sobriety test and feel that there's something more because their anxiety taken for blood work, and then they are subjected to a DUI as well. And African Americans are more likely to become victims to the system. My brother was a Marine who served and did 2 tours in Iraq. When he came home, he had PTSD. He went down to Camp Lejeune, committed suicide on base. I was 6 months pregnant. I have 2 kids who are autistic and have severe multiple allergies, so medication isn't an option for them. I tried. They became zombies. Took them off. I'm for legalization, but I feel like the laws here in Pennsylvania, especially driving laws, need to be looked at. And the profits, if you do legalize, make it available for medical marijuana patients to have it available to them, especially our veterans who fight and come home having and our elderly, because they're the ones that put a lot of these laws into place as I'm standing here today. And they're here and they gotta sit on fixed incomes and not know how to get the thing, but they choose the doctors to take opiates. And every time I go to a doctor's office, I see pharmaceutical companies pushing their pills. They don't know what's in them. I've been on medications all my life. They do what they're supposed to do, but then they mess you up otherwise. And in this county, marijuana.
I'm a programmer. I'm in favor of legalization. You know, a lot of people against it will say, oh, we're concerned about health issues, but they're not actively campaigning against alcohol or cigarettes, which are both scientifically known to be more harmful than marijuana. In fact, I like to think of arguments from both sides so I know how to counter arguments of my opponent, and I can't think of any arguments against recreational marijuana that wouldn't also invalidate alcohol. People say marijuana is a gateway drug, but I would argue alcohol is the gateway drug because, you know, I've been growing up recently. I've seen the party culture in America, both in high school and college, and a lot of people are drinking before they're 21. I see this as more of a civil rights issue because
retired community pharmacist. I practiced pharmacy for almost 50 years. One thing I learned in college, all chemical substances, whether they're legalized drugs or illegal substances, are poisons to our body. It took us centuries to learn how hazardous the use of tobacco is to our body. It took us centuries to learn how hazardous alcohol use can be to our bodies. It costs us in healthcare dollars billions to treat and take care of the physical and emotional effects that excessive use of these products cause. I have no problem with medical marijuana at this point in time. What I do have a problem with is legalizing a substance that has a minimal amount of medical research. We don't know the short-term or long-term effects of recreational use of marijuana. I'm sorry for all of you who are so pro-legalizing marijuana, but these are facts. I can appreciate the recreational use of marijuana having used alcohol. and continue to drink on occasion socially. But what I can appreciate decriminalizing small amounts of marijuana. You know, we've gotten to a point where something needs to be done with that. But at the same time, we've got to take the long view, not just the short view. And we've got to have more discussion, a lot more research before we say, let's make this substance available for everybody to use. Because from my generation in high school and college to this generation now, we have a lot more problems with excessive alcohol use, excessive tobacco use, and excessive illegal substance use. When I first started practicing pharmacy, marijuana was clinically identified as the gateway substance to much more hazardous substances, heroin and whatever else is out there on the street. It's a proven fact that nicotine is more addicting than heroin. That's a proven fact. And it's legal. And it has created all kinds of billions of dollars in healthcare expenses. We need to do more before we give away the farm. And if we are going to legalize it, please make the taxes high enough to pay for the healthcare costs that it's going to create. Thank you.
And I'm a member, I'm a student, and I am a resident of Berks County, and I'm a member of the Shutdown Berks County Detention Center Coalition. I am in support of the legalization of recreational weed. I'd also like to take a moment to thank you for your advocacy for shutting down the detention center, as well as for your support.
Could you please limit your comments to adult use cannabis, please?
Sure, thank you. So I am in support of the legalization of adult use cannabis for the following reasons. For starters, the criminalization of the drug, as well as the felonies that come with it, exponentially affect people of color. Open access to people, giving open access to the drug can benefit those who otherwise might not have access to it through medical use. That being said, if we provide the use in a state frame, we provide a framework to regulate it and to make it safer, for example, for adult use as opposed to child use. Not only that, but yourself and Governor Wolf have led a campaign on creating and enlarging the hemp industry, as well as fighting the opioid crisis. And so, considering the effects of decriminalization and its benefits, as well as benefits of adult cannabis use for people who have medical issues, I would like to raise the question to you and see what your thoughts and whether you plan to, for a county like Berks County, where the opioid crisis, after having been surveyed, is one of the largest issues and concerns of the residents of the county, whether you would convert the detention center to a drug treatment facility to attack specifically the opioid problem, as well as to bring economic growth to Berks County through the legalization that would come from adult cannabis use.
My name is Carolyn. I actually have a couple of questions. I always used to think when they treated it like alcohol, we would get the benefits like the gentleman with the hat who was saying about the, we would get the financial benefit in our county.
Sarah, would you into the microphone?
Is this better? Yes. My name is Carolyn, and I was initially thinking along the lines for many, many years, like the gentleman with the hat, who said that, you know, the financial benefits to the county where we made it legalized and we would treat it like alcohol and have all the regulations that you do. Then when you hear all the other stories over the years, how sometimes it's not such a big thing. But then when you hear about the medical benefits of this new CBD oil, which is supposed to be marijuana without the hallucinant effects of it, I'm thinking, why, if you are in such pain, you don't have to do the hallucinatory ones. Like you have this new CBD oil, and it's available. Why not use that? My other thought is that I have been reading that
My name is Sarah. I'm from Berks County, and I had to come out here because we didn't have a tour stop. But I do appreciate you doing this.
Well, we are coming to Berks County.
We didn't see it. I didn't see a tour stop, but I'll see you there too. Regardless, I've lived in different states. I lived in Michigan, where we have medical marijuana legally accessible and available, and it's changed our lives. It's been so helpful and beneficial to people who deal with a huge array of medical issues. And I've also lived out in Oregon, where I worked on a CBD farm, and I also worked for another farmer who grew THC cannabis. And the different medical approaches are able to be met, and people's needs are able to be met due to like CBD versus THC, and it's a wide array of like who needs what. And I've been able to see that not only help people who need healing, but as well as bringing in a lot of economic growth to these communities. I was able to get out of a really rough living situation because of the money that I made trimming and working for farmers. And it's the kind of stimulation there is something that we could use in Berks County as well as across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I also, last night, had to help someone who has a chronic illness, a rare chronic illness with no cure, who deals with debilitating pain and like constant nausea, who's been struggling to be able to even get a medical card in order for her to get the medicine she needed. And Legalizing Recreational will create the platform for people who have limited accessibility to medical marijuana to be able to actually have that more easily accessible. It will destigmatize and decriminalize and stop putting so many people in jail and stop giving people all of these fines that they get just for trying to get medicine that they need. And in Berks County and across Pennsylvania, as we've already heard from so many people, the opioid crisis is what's really hurting our communities, not cannabis. And we could use that funding to turn a center like the Berks Family Detention Center, which actively harms children, into something that could heal our communities. And that's the kind of thing that we need. Berks County is 12th highest out of 67 counties, and I know that Schuylkill County is also up there, and we have too many people that like die from drug-related causes. And we need to stop that. We really need to have access, and we could use the funds to help our communities. So that's what we have.
Only because it speaks to what I want to talk about. In the last 15 years, I've had 18 surgeries. So I've been on all kinds of different pain medicine. And with the opioid crisis, the insurance companies are cutting back on the opioids, the doctors, which I think is a great idea. My primary care physicians say get the marijuana card, because it's when I go through pain management, then we get off the opioids, because marijuana works great for you. The problem is I can't get my card because I'm a gun owner and collector. And it's not only that I have guns, I collect them, and it's actually part of my retirement fund. And I'm all for legalization and making it available to people who need it. I mean, this is my doctor telling me, go get your card, and I'm unable to get a card because I own guns. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bob Sverchik. I wanted to start off first by talking a little bit about the studies on marijuana. Much of the study has not really been done because the federal government has quashed it because it's a Schedule I drug. As far as it being a gateway drug, well, what are you going to gateway to if you're already a Schedule I drug? Schedule II drug like cocaine? I don't think so. But anyway, I started smoking weed when I was 15. Served a hitch in the Navy with no problems. I didn't smoke on board my submarine or anything like that, of course. After the service, I started a job. I was able to raise a family, retired, smoked weed up until I was 37. I quit when I was 37 because my company started random drug testing, and my job was more important than the weed. I had no withdrawals, I had no loss of intelligence, I had none of the things that I hear about from now and again that are a little bit out of line. But anyway, now 63, retired when I was 50. I'm very pro legalizing marijuana. Thank you.
I'm C3 nonprofit organization helping dedicated to veterans. I'm here for the veterans, our fire departments, our EMS, and our law enforcement. I was all of them at one point in time. I've traveled the world, go all over. I've been into Colorado, I've been in almost every state where it's been legal and recreational. We need to move forward with the recreational and allow people who can't access it through the medical as well through the recreational. You know, I've seen kids that have 2,700 seizures a month that don't even live past the age of 2 years old. I have a kid now, he's now living. He made it past 5 years old. He just died last year because of a major seizure. But he went from having 2,700 seizures to none, just with the CBD. It ain't just CBD. You all have to understand the aspects of the THC and the cannabidiols. Our body already produces cannabidiols naturally. We don't have enough to produce ourselves. And taking that makes us better. I have PTSD, I have seizures. I've been seizure-free now since 2013. I'm having hospitalizations from chronic pain. I can't have surgeries because no one would want to have surgeries when somebody had a seizure. A friend of mine just died. That's what it is. It's changing. Change is what makes a difference. I'm pro, I'm for everything. I'm here for our veterans, our firefighters, our EMT, and our law enforcement. They need to access it just as much as anybody else.
My name is Nikki Todd, and I'm a two-time cancer survivor so far. I also, though, have developed rheumatoid arthritis. My husband is a Vietnam vet. He was stationed in Da Nang and was doused with Agent Orange. Both of the people from our medical teams have suggested medical marijuana as a painkiller and specifically for me as an inflammation lowerer. I'm an independent. I lean toward libertarianism because I appreciate you being here, but I don't like the government in my business. Do you know what I'm saying? So my comment is this. I've read a lot about if you identify yourself, and some people have touched on this already, if you identify yourself as a marijuana user, that could impact your Second Amendment rights, and that's very, very important. So my comment is we need to look before we leap. You can be prohibited from some gun rights, and I wouldn't, that's something that shouldn't just slide by the radar. So I'm in the middle, and I just think we should look before we leap.
And I just want to make a remark about the fact that in every case that we heard today, everybody has their personal experiences, whether they be bad or good, and our experiences shape who we are. Yes, people have grown up where they've had bad experiences with drugs or marijuana and stuff like that, and it does give you a sour taste in your mouth. But there's also people who use it and also use other drugs other than marijuana that have normal and healthy lives. And these people, when you spout off these facts that all these people are bad, that it causes harm, that you can't live a normal life, how can you say this and you have these people around you right now saying that they do live normal lives, that they use it? It's like denying truth that's right in front of you. Why would you trust facts that you hear on the internet? Your personal side of it. And that's all I want to say really, is that if you don't want to use it, nobody's forcing you to. You don't have to go to a liquor store and buy alcohol. If you don't want to drink, you don't go. So if there are people that are for it, let them do what they want. Let them have what they want, because they see a need for it.
I joined the Marine Corps in 2005. During my first tour, I was shot by an enemy sniper and awarded the Purple Heart. The same sniper who shot me shot 3 of my friends, and they died, and they're awarded the same Purple Heart I was. I redeployed to Iraq. That's where ISIS took my battalion commander's head clean off with the suicide bomber in retaliation of all the jihadis that we killed on my first tour. My first deployment, 171 Marines were wounded. 22 were killed. This was in a 210-day deployment. I never touched cannabis my entire life until my first week out of the Marine Corps, when another Marine offered me cannabis. I said, "What are you doing? Man, that's crazy poisonous stuff." He said, "No, it'll help." That's all I needed to hear. I've been using cannabis since 2009. I have traumatic brain injury from getting hit with 2 mortar rounds on my post as well, and I had a rocket deflect off my Kevlar point blank. Having 3 hits to my head really has me in a lot of pain every day. Sometimes my brain is swollen so much I feel like I'm getting blown up or shot up all over again. It is a living, breathing hell. I'm so grateful I have cannabis. I'm so looking forward to the legalization of cannabis. I'm so glad that you came out so that I could share my story. Thank you.
Private citizen as well as work for emergency management. I'm not for the cannabis or marijuana, but I do understand the concept about the medical marijuana, at least for the time being, where people are needing it.
From Pottsville. I live up in Arch Street. Unfortunately, Arch Street has deteriorated to the harder drug use. I am in favor of legalizing it. I feel as a citizen that we should have an opportunity for natural painkillers. I've been severely injured. I suffer daily, and I'm looking for anything that'll help with it beyond the opioids I already take, which is fine. I believe the state should regulate this. The person that made the comments about adolescents, absolutely. They're growing, they're learning, and I believe it's a deterrent to their growth. But by 21, you're an adult, you should be able to make your choice. I believe with legalization, there should be an opportunity for citizens to make a choice, an informed choice. But as soon as criminals or the dark element that's involved with this becomes involved, that's why people are talking about gateways. There's always a mix of things here. I believe there should be restrictions, and it should be well run. I personally don't think the state runs things very well. Too top heavy with bureaucrats, expensive bureaucrats. So, sir, thanks for coming to Pottsville. Thank you.
Pennsylvania, and I'm 100% pro legalizing adult recreational cannabis. I did have a few suggestions. Maybe if it does go forward and they continue to discuss the policy, they could discuss a more competitive tax rate to prevent people from going out of state and buying it from our neighboring states or continuing to buy it from the black market, something like that. I also thought they could discuss bringing industrial hemp to the table along with regular, intoxicating recreational cannabis. That is a plant that doesn't have any recreational purposes, but it has many uses for oils, lubricants, textiles, paper, other fibers. It could be something that would bolster the PA agriculture. It's already the cash crop in town. And also, it was brought up about losing jobs. I suggest talking about some protective legislation where pre-employment drug screens, unless they're a test that can actually show intoxication, not just previous usage. Same thing for random drug tests, show intoxication, not previous usage, that the results for that should be null and void. Everybody wants to talk about gateway drug. I go to the liquor store to buy liquor. They don't have cocaine. They don't have methamphetamine behind the counter. I have to go to a drug dealer to buy marijuana. They can get me one thing, they can get me anything. That's where the gateway lies. It lies in the black market, and it lies with the drug dealer, not the substance itself. Addiction.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I've been using cannabis since I was 16. I've owned my business for 11 years. I bought it partially because I would fail a marijuana drug test if I had gotten it, so I bought my own business and successfully have run it for 11 years. I also think there's a couple other things. As a business owner, I think that maybe like microbrewing, or like how Pennsylvania is with microbrewing, there could be a micro growing, as an option for doing that, and also maybe small amounts for home growing purposes as well. I mean, it's a plant, it can be grown by just about anyone, and I fully support it, and thank you for your time.
Presently, the CDL licensing situation, if you do pass this, you have to look at a whole bunch of different laws. CDL licensing, if they get clipped, A lot of people don't take blood anymore, they take the hair because it hangs longer in your hair.
Let's see where it goes.
I'm not a speaker, so I'll try to make this quick.
Wanting to participate. It's been outstanding. And again, I really want to thank you for coming out on a Saturday and giving up your time. So I have a couple questions for you. Please keep your hands in the air. We want to make sure we document this for aye. Okay. Thank you. All those opposed to adult use cannabis in Pennsylvania, raise your hand. No.
No.
Keep your hands open, please, so we may document.
Take away the stigma.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And finally, those in the middle, those unsure, raise your hands, please. And please keep them up so we may document that. All right. Thank you, Pottsville. Thank you very much for coming out.
So, I mean, I have a lot of things going on.
You have a powerful voice, make sure you share it.
Yes, and I speak out